Okay, I'm going to call the Tuesday, November 26th Emergency Advisory Committee to order. And we did do our land acknowledgement earlier in the afternoon, so I'm not going to repeat that. So I do need a motion to approve the November 28th, 2023 EAC meeting minutes. Councillor Abatoye.
Can I just say so moved?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Oh, I can read it. I move that the minutes of November 28th, 2023 Emergency Advisory Committee meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Great, thank you. Were there any errors or omissions? Not seeing any, I'll close the motion. Please cast your vote. I suppose we had to go out and come back in. Which I didn't do. Okay, and that is carried. Okay, thank you. All right, the next one we have is Emergency Management Agency presentations. Chief Martins. Yeah.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. Today we are here to present to you in your role as Emergency Advisory Committee. This is an important distinction as municipalities must have an Emergency Advisory Committee, and it meets at least once annually to review and receive a report from the Emergency Management Agency. My name is Todd Martins and I'm the Fire Chief and the Director of Emergency Management, and here today with me is Deputy Chief Quinn Gillard of Emergency Management. Next slide, Quinn. Today I'll just touch on a few topics. The first will just be a quick term of reference and EAC mandate. I won't go into full detail on that this year, just provide you a high level update. I'll also touch on the HIRA, which is the Hazardous Identification and Risk Assessment that we do, as well as the Emergency Management Plan. And then I will touch on our audit that we had from Emergency Management Agency and a few of our 2024 accomplishments that I'll go through. So this slide, again, as per the Emergency Management Act and the local authority, each municipality must have an advisory committee, which includes either one or all elected officials, must have a emergency management agency, which is members of our leadership team, managers and supervisors, and as well as appoint a director of emergency management, which is myself. Through this, we review the emergency management plan, and we have met with the DEM team as well as the EMA group. And from this, we just want to highlight again a few of the EAC membership's roles, which is your role as council. The mayor is the chair. In absence of the mayor, it's deputy mayor or two members of council. We also have to meet as minimum once a year, which is what we're doing here today. And then the biggest piece for the EAC committee is during a disaster or during emergency situations is when you would activate that SOL or declare and play any type of role for the renewal or anything we have for termination in a local state of emergency. Next slide. So in this slide, I'll just quickly speak to the HIRA, which is the Hazardous Identification and Risk Assessment that we do. So through this, I maintain and update the bylaw as well as the emergency municipal plans. This is also through feedback from the EMA group as well as our DEM team. We currently have 5 DEM members and we are all on a rotational basis throughout the year. This is a critical piece for identifying pieces through the HIRA and seeking feedback from this group. Parts of the process that we do through the Alberta Community Emergency Management Model is identify risk factors through the HIRA, which you see. We still have 32-ish categories, but we've narrowed it down to the 5 themes, which council, I think we presented more in detail last year on, but industry, environmental, infrastructure, public health, and then the transportation piece. Again, this was reviewed by our audit through the municipal plan and AEMA. And upon completion of that, we did have some goals from last year that we still needed to complete for training and the exercise, but overall it was good. We're just currently working through some of those plans and some of that review that we have to do for 2025. Next slide. Next slide. Sorry. So the audit that was undertaken, Alberta Emergency Management Agency, we had two field officers come out and do the audit with myself and DC Gillard, just to discuss the overall, the outstanding issues and moving forward, what we had to work on. So again, overall, the audit was good. We passed the audit. There were a few recommendations in the audit as far as training. I think we had one or two elected officials that still needed the training, and we had a few key role-specific members that were lacking some of the training, and this is based on just availability and offering of the programs throughout the region. Last year, again, was quite busy with fire season, and a lot of the courses couldn't be provided. So, however, we did manage to get a lot of other courses through ICS completed this year and make a dent in the training plan that we had. The other recommendation was not a recommendation, but a must, is a small exercise, which we're currently reviewing right now. And for March of 2025, we have one scheduled. This will entail 4 days of training that we are partnering with Enercare to put on. So this will be for our members of our IMT team, as well as anybody that's part of Enercare, and then our industry partners and other municipalities. And this will be followed by an exercise that we will run here in the city on the 5th day. The other thing that was noted in the audit and a letter that was attached was the needs for a dedicated emergency coordination center. That was expressed in the letter that was provided with the audit. Basically just focusing on space, equipment, should we have to respond or need the area for training or activation. We are currently working with some of the other departments in the city on seeing where we can relocate from the IT room here in City Hall to a bigger space and have that ability to have some breakout rooms. So we are working on that now, and we are also plan to come back to council with the station scoping study, which will identify space in one of the options that will be presented to council for a standalone ECC or a room for training / ECC. So a few accomplishments for 2024. It was a big year for us. This is the first year Quinn's been with us in his new role as Deputy Chief of Emergency Management. So some of the things that I felt were really important was that stakeholder engagement and building the relationships with our industry partners. So that was kind of the first thing we started with, was that stakeholder engagement and seeing what was missing from our end and how we could better work with our industry. So that was number one. Again, TG bylaw that council just approved. We just found out that the minister has signed it, so it'll be back to us, which is great. A number of other things that were achieved through this that Quinn sat through were exercises with our industry partners, a number of cleanups with our current drives into new folders for emergency management, which was a huge undertaking. And then currently a lot of time is being spent on our EM plans. If you remember, council, you approved money to help us work on emergency management plans, and that's currently what we're working on now with one of our contractors to bring those to completion in that probably first quarter of 2025. A few other things, DEM policy and procedures for this year. We also came and presented on the siren system, which is due back, I think, end of January of 2025 for council's decision. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention the legacy radio system. This will come back to council next year for discussion. This is the older radio system that the fire department had. And is kind of morphed more into emergency management and our different departments' day-to-day operational use. So we're looking into the replacement of that. I think we've stretched that to about 15 or 16 years. 18 years right now, so there is money in the capital to replace that in next year's budget. Next slide. So this slide just shows this is the IMT team, and I just wanted to point out that the challenges that we're kind of just seeing with some of the training. There's only 4 remaining from this group, and this group is our IMT team. So again, just the importance of training that we're undertaking is getting involved and having our staff trained up to the level as per the legislation. So we're working on this. We're working to recruit, and that's again why we're bringing in the role-specific training in March. It's a week-long training, which is followed by that exercise, which I spoke to. So after that, we should have some new numbers, but a lot of the faces that we see in this picture are no longer with us. Next slide. And that concludes the report from the EAC, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll go into questions. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm curious, for the exercise you are planning in next spring, what type of incident do you think you will study or work on? Just curious.
Your worship, through to Councillor Kelly, I don't really want to say in case anybody's listening. we normally don't tell them what the exercise is. It'll be a broad through the day it'll kind of progress, and it'll be based on some of the challenges we're seeing in our region.
Okay, good answer, because that's really what I was driving at. It's going to be more or less specific to the challenges of being Fort Saskatchewan.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Batoye.
Thank you for your presentation, Chief. I didn't see in your report anything about cybersecurity, and I know that with cybersecurity there can be emergent issues, right, for municipalities. So I'm just wondering if that's something that's not outside of your scope, or it's something that's included but it's just not in your reports.
Your worship, through to Councillor Batoye. So this is something that we're currently working on, and DC Giller could speak to it a little more. But through those emergency plans that we're working on right now, we're working on the overall, if there's any refresh to our current EM plan, but we're working on the ESS plan, our city evacuation plan. We have a number of extreme weather plans, an IT plan, a traffic plan, a donation plan, and a few other things in there that we've identified through the DEM team and the EMA group. So we're working with the consultant as well as our subject matter experts here in the city, so IT, on those next steps. And then when those plans are completed, we'd come back for a presentation.
Thank you. What is ESS?
Emergency Social Services.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Councillor Nguyen?
Yeah.
Jeez, my fingers aren't working tonight.
I just prepared to make the motion. Don't see any further questions. So I'd move that the Emergency Advisory Committee approve the City of Fort Saskatchewan Municipal Emergency Plan reviewed on November 26, 2024 with no revisions.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this report to council today. This is, I guess maybe to us, it's a little bit kind of background work, but the importance of this is extremely significant in light of an emergency situation occurring in Fort Saskatchewan. So the report was thorough, and I'm happy to support the motion and encourage you to continue with the ongoing work. I hope you find a space that works out that's suitable for some trains, so that we can be as trigger ready as possible should something ever occur.
Great, thank you. It's open for discussion and debate. I'm just going to make a comment. I think you do a fantastic job. I feel like we're in good hands in Fort Saskatchewan when it comes to our emergency management planning, with all the work that you do within our care and all of the different agencies that we have. I'm not going to list them all, but I greatly appreciate and value the work that you do with them. And thank you for your service, because it's very difficult sometimes. Okay. Anything on close? All right. Going to close the motion. Please cast your vote. Great, and that is carried 6-0. So thank you very much. So I'm going to adjourn the Emergency Advisory Committee, and I'm going to go back to our come from recess from our regular meeting and take a motion to go to in camera for the items. Are you able to put that up, or do you? If not, we'll just take the motion. So if somebody like to make the motion, this one's only going to be with your cards. Go ahead, Councillor Macon.
I'll make the motion that we move in camera for reasons covered under FOIP.
Okay, thank you. Please cast your vote. I think you have to use your cards or raise your hands if you're in favor. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. So we'll now adjourn to the committee room. Thank you.